Hello and welcome to Crafting Bharat, Brand Ki Baat, an industry-first podcast that takes you behind the curtain to meet the people who bring brands to life. I'm your host, Shubhreet Kaur, a full-time vice president at Factors PR, a part-time influencer, and a proud mom to two firecracker daughters navigating it all. And I'm very excited to have you join me today. In this podcast, we're diving deep into the stories you don't usually hear. The hustle, the heart, and yes, all those late nights because we've all been there, right? It's about celebrating the creative chaos and the icons behind the brand that innovate and inspire and shape our narrative. Today, we've got an exciting conversation lined up with some incredible professionals who've done it all and seen it all. They'll share their stories and maybe even spill a little tea. This series is proudly brought to you by Newsreach, India's leading PR tech platform, in association with VC Circle and our production partner, HT Smartcast. A special thank you to our segment partner, Blue Tea, our gifting partner, The Forbidden Journeys, and our styling partner, White Chaos, in case you missed how good my outfit looks. And joining me today are two phenomenal experts who have spent a lot of time in the industry, and they will have interesting insights and, of course, some tea on what is about to happen. Starting off, there's, of course, Atul Sharma and Sameer Seth. Now, I know most podcasts, the host introduce, but we are comms professionals, so we've got to be a little innovative. And hence, we have a section called The Pitch, core KRA of every comms professional. And we're going to give you the chance to pitch yourself to us. So, brand first, of course, always, Atul, you will understand, I'm sure. Sameer, let's start with you.
Awesome. At the outset, thank you for having me here today. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm Sameer Seth. I'm Director Marketing for Dolby in India. And I've been a media boy. I have had the good fortune of working for some of the largest Indian and international media companies like Z, Network 18. And I've been with Dolby, which is a beautiful brand at the cusp of technology on one side and media on the other. So kind of gives me the opportunity to get the best of both the worlds. And I've been with Dolby as a storyteller for a little over 7 years now.
Oh, wow. And Atul, now coming to you. Not that you need too much of an introduction in the PR industry, but of course, for our audiences, we need it.
Thank you, Shubhreet, for inviting me to this show. And it's a pleasure to talk to you in a much more formal setting. Let me put it like this. I think the way I would want to describe myself, I believe I'm an accidental storyteller. And it's been completely serendipity that I'm in this profession. And I have been here for more than 2 decades and enjoyed every part and every minute of it. I am also the CEO of a fast-growing, large PR firm called Root of India. And I also double up as the president for PRCI, which is the Public Relations Consultants Association of India. So there's lot which is happening in my life, and but I'm thoroughly enjoying the play that I'm in.
It's great to have you both here. And, given you have such vast experiences, and Atul, I mean, you've also been in the industry for 20 plus years, and we were just talking off the record a little bit ago about how long we all have been around. There have been a lot of changes, right? We've seen the comms world, the marketing world kind of evolve. We've moved from a broadcast model to a social model where the communication is two-way. I will come to you, Sameer, first. What do you think has been one of the most inspiring changes that you have seen in the industry that you think is the aspirational factor, going ahead? And why would someone be attracted to this industry?
I think, there's been a clear shift in terms of how we consume content and the way we consume it. And the ease of consumption. I think those three parameters have really changed the way consumers look and consume content. We want to try different genres of content. We want to consume them in the most premium format, and for which we do want to spend and get that best possible experience. In fact, since I come from a marketing standpoint, we keep looking at numbers and how consumer trends have evolved over the last few years. So we are looking at a research, before and after pandemic. Has there been a behavioral change in the way we consume content? And what we saw was consumers are actually prioritizing premium experiences. And for that, they're making a two-pronged upgrade. One, they're upgrading their devices. So I, had an old phone, I had an old TV. Can I get a, TV that gives me the best visual and audio experience? And the second upgrade that I'm doing is I'm upgrading my subscription to, say, a streaming service. So it was a single device, high definition plan. Now I want the premium plan that gives me Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. And gives me a great experience which I can have across screen types. So while I'm at home, on the go, at work, or now even in cars.
Yeah.
So that's something that really excites us, especially for the brand that I kind of represent.
So, Atul, brand side, of course, their consumer they know, and their measurements they know. For us, it actually, as the agency side presents a new challenge then, because since consumption has changed, how we are projecting the brand story has changed. What do you think has been the most remarkable shift that you've had to adjust to? Because you have seen the traditional media days, and now you are heading one of the most fastest growing agencies that is doing really well and navigating the space really well. What is the shift or the tweak that you had to make or get your agency to make to adapt to this new consumption pattern?
I think, see, if I look at the last 2 decades, I started out in this industry wherein, probably the spoken word was everything. So we were speaking to journalists either on landlines, or we were sending, notes over fax machines. So it was more like what you could pitch. And then came the era of the written word, wherein, you got onto your emails, you thought of a pitch, and there was a beautiful story which was being pitched to a journalist. And then I think, if I look at the social era, everything changed, because your story was not your story. It completely depended on how consumers were coming into your story, participating in that story. User generated media became much more, I would say, the story started changing a lot. So I think if you ask me, I don't know whether it's a challenge or what I've seen changing a lot, but I've realized that instead of giving out information, I think we were forced to think stories first, because I think the attention span that has dwindled down to like less than 8 seconds today, you need to catch people's attention in those 8 seconds. And if you tell them facts, figures, which are boring, how do you catch them in those 8 seconds and make sure that they hold on to that information for long? So I think that ability to think story first, and how do you grab that attention and hold on to your audience, I think that's something which has really changed the way we think as PR professionals, and we are thoroughly enjoying that.
Enjoying it. So I'm going to get in a bit of a bratty mood over here and put a situation that happens between brand and agency very often. This changes your expectation from an agency, and this changes how you convince them what reputation can be measured. What I would say is the point of, I won't say conflict, but let's say the understanding that has to then again change, because marketing especially is very measurement based. But for us to explain how reputation can be measured, especially with this new scenario happening, where do you see the conflict lies, and how can brands and agencies communicate on this better?
Well, I think, again, off the record conversations that we were having a little while ago, I think I love what Sameer said. I don't find enough challenging conversations from the other side. So I think as long as, we behave the custodians that the brand always wanted us to be, as long as we can be always in their shoes, represent the brand like they would, I don't think there'll be any conflict, because then I'm not working for them. I'm working for the brand that they are working for. So I think as long as we have a common objective, which is more like what they're chasing, what we are chasing, I don't see a point of conflict. It's usually when, it's usually the other way around, when people are trying to, bring their own personalities into the picture. I think that's where conflicts happen. But otherwise, if you are working for the same brand, our objective is same, I don't see a reason why there can be any conflict in the very first place.
So there's one more question I have, and this wasn't originally part of the script, but because we had this off the record conversation, this entire podcast is getting dominated by that, was talent. Right? There is so much happening in the comms world right now. We've seen so many changes. There's innovation, there's AI, there's new services. But finding the right talent, because PR is a cool place to be, is also a challenge, because now we also need wider skill sets. We need youngsters, Gen Z, who are thinking ahead. How do we position and make PR cool again, if I can say so? Or comms cool again as a whole thing?
I think what I've seen, not just from a comms perspective, but talking from an Indian perspective, I can tell you with a lot of conviction, Indians perform best when put under pressure. And we thrive and we know how to thrive. Just put us in the deep, end of the pool, and we'll know how to swim. I think that is what we need to do and showcase to talent. It's a canvas. It's like a canvas. You give a canvas and let the new voice sort of be the guiding light. Give them the canvas. They know how to paint it, and that is what should bring new energy.
Give
That's
them
way
the
I-
freedom to like
Yeah.
experiment and explore and learn and fail as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think if I can bring in a specific comms perspective, I think, we need better PR for PR. And I think a lot of us, including the fraternity, is responsible for when our parents ask us, what do you do? We need to have very clear answers to tell them what we do, right?
This is so true. I don't think my husband still knows what I do.
Exactly. So I think the point is we also need to do a better job of educating people around us, audiences around us. What do we do in the very first place? Because I think, you know, you know, there is a very convoluted sense amongst people what PR does. And if I look at the media fraternity, usually we are referred to when there's something goes wrong with the brand story, right? There's never a good PR story that gets talked about. So I think there's a lot of education that I think each one of us has to be responsible for. In fact, interestingly, at PRCI, we've, one of our members, Nikhil, and Nikhil,
Yes.
he has done recently a course with IIM Udaipur. And that's an interesting start, wherein you're bringing in the management institutes, premier management institutes, and making them understand reputation management and what reputation management is capable of doing for the brands. I think that's a good start, and we do more of that. And I think we should be able to get this conversation started.
No, I think you're right. I think we also need to sort of get in the grind ourselves and start talking to people. And I like what you said. We need better PR for PR. So that's definitely it. So one question open to both of you, because, Sameer, you can give us the brand perspective on it, and Atul, you will definitely have the agency perspective on this. How do Indian brands differ in the communication, communication strategy when compared to the global counterparts? Do you think there is a difference, or is that gap closing? Because from my personal experience, when I was working in Singapore versus here, over there, integration, for example, I'm just using a small part of it, had kicked in a little earlier. And we're seeing an entire movement of that happening in India right now. Are there more such differences that you see between Indian brands and global brands?
I think, see, one is obviously the integration and how you are spreading your message or your story across mediums. But I feel that today, if I look at Indian brands, I feel that there's a lot more Indian messaging in the way they're telling the story. So days like the Republic Day, days like the Independence Day, Holi, Diwali, these were no-go days initially, where you would not want to communicate anything because people were in the spirit of festivity. But today, I think a lot of Indian brands are proud to make sure that on those days, they're putting their messages out, they're doing their launches. And I think that's coming out very, very strong. So I think that whole Indianness and, the pride is something more and more Indian brands are wearing on their sleeves, which I think
is amazing.
Is amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. That's a very interesting insight, Atul. I completely agree with you. I think we're becoming louder about the fact that we're an Indian brand, and I think that messaging is really cutting through. Sameer, anything you want to add to that?
Sure. I mean, I can talk the global side,
Yeah.
since I have, again, the good fortune of working for Dolby, which is a global brand. So, there is a way that you would want your brand voice to, represent across different geos. So there's that commonality that becomes your guardrail. But from a India perspective, it gives you a lot more opportunity because here, you have 22 different languages. To Atul's point, you have, hyperlocal moments. And how do you, bring the global perspective of the brand in the Indian context? I think that is where, good storytelling and good brand conversations happen. That's what we try to do, when we talk to our audiences here. Interestingly, we are an ingredient brand wanting to be far more consumer facing.
Yeah.
And, we do a lot of that through content, stories. How can music, inspire me, to get a better experience? How does language content in India, for example, work? Sports, different passion. Gaming is another passion. So it's a beautiful opportunity. You have this global brand. How do you kind of localize it and bring it and make it relevant to the Indian audience? Because there is Bharat and there is India. So India and Bharat both have appetite, and how do you satiate that appetite by making your brand, a global brand, relevant to the Indian audience? That's the challenge, and that's the opportunity that we really enjoy doing at Dolby.
And I think what you both have said is also testament to the fact that how deep comms has a role to play now into the audiences, right? Like we're getting more regional, we're getting hyper local. People are consuming content all around. So yes, as you said, it's a challenge, but there's also a lot of pride behind it and there's a lot of opportunity behind it. So we're going to move to our next section, which is What's the Tea? Brought to you by Blue Tea. And I don't know if you've tried it, very refreshing. We've been talking, so we can take a bit of a break as well. But
I love the flavor.
it is, right? And I love how it looks.
Yep. I love the color too.
Nice.
So, What's the Tea is all about, as you know, spilling the tea. And of course, I completely understand that there might be names you cannot take, but there are some fun details that we would want out of you. So, I will start with you, Atul, because agency always have more, as he just mentioned, crisis hota hai,
Masala.
to masala aata hai, complication hoti hai.
And the pleasure of working for nasty clients.
I didn't say it, he did. But
That's self-deprecating humor.
so, what is the funniest client demand you have ever had? This one, Atul, you can answer.
I wouldn't say demand, but there's an interesting conversation which I had with the client wherein the brief was कुछ ऐसा करो कि मजा आ जाए. And I think the conversation which followed with that was when I ended up calling the client कि मुझे कैसे पता कि तुम्हें मजा कैसे आता है. So I think that whole conversation which started on a very very serious note, I think became a little too riotous after a point in time, because I think that brought out the whole the point that most of the times we get very sketchy briefs
Yeah.
and we operate off the sketchy briefs to bring to Sameer's point that we don't ask enough questions at times, So I think that was only thing I got left behind with, that maybe every time if we ask more questions, we can come around with something more pertinent which the client wants.
Did you ever tell him कुछ ऐसा करो कि मजा आ जाए?
Atul, was I?
No. To be on the record, it was definitely not Dolby.
Which means there's something off the record too.
I'll ask him later.
We'll do that after this.
Okay, to you, this is a very simple one, okay? Genuinely simpler than his question. How many times have you had to tell the agency this isn't aligned with the brand tone?
That sounds like the voice of God. No, I mean, especially talking in context, I think Rudolphin has been a fabulous partner. I've had the good fortune of working with Atul, for almost over a decade or close to a decade now. And he's always been a friend more than, an agency. Firstly, I don't believe in a client agency,
It has to be a relationship.
It's a partner. It's a partnership, right? I mean, I've always maintained, he's got a wonderful team. Maintained that team is an extension of what we do. We always look at them as our own extension, because we, are very lean and we take a lot of pride in doing what we do. And the team at Rudolphin does a fantastic job. So I don't think that I've ever been as brazen.
You're being diplomatic with me right now.
No,
but I agree with everything you have said, but I cannot believe you've never said this in 20 years.
No, I have done, I'm sure I would have done some nasty things in certain presentations like, acha, next. That, yes.
So I'll give you another question, and this you have to answer very, very honestly. And maybe you've done this in your younger days on the brand side. If you ever had to present an idea to your internal stakeholders, but you didn't have the time, did you dish it out to the agency? Say, inse banwa leta hu.
वो तो genuinely agency partners, right?
It
You
is,
reach out to your partners.
That's true partnership.
That's true partnership.
See, I always believe, always make your problem others' problem so that, collectively you'll have a better solution.
This
So
is good career advice for the young generation, another incentive how to learn and grow.
Never keep the monkey on your back for too long. Pass the monkey to someone else. No, jokes apart, I think collaboration definitely helps.
Yeah.
When you have like-minded, partnership, you get better inputs, and then collectively you are able to solve the problem a lot better.
I completely agree. I'll give you another easy one, okay? If AI could automate any part of your job, what is the one thing you would love to just let go? कि ये मुझे करना ही नहीं है, ये AI को करने दो.
I would say that if AI can today which is pretty capable of and can skim through the entire media universe and tell me first thing in the morning which are the calls that I'm going to get basis what has been produced in the news, I think I would be much better prepared to deal with what's going to be my day like. So I think that's the only thing that I would want AI to do for me.
Sameer, same question to you.
I mean, yeah, something that can do crystal ball gazing and tell me what's in store, and what I should be ready to blaze in the day and the week ahead. Yeah, why not? Not decision making for sure, right, Atul?
Not decision making.
And he's just double checking right now.
No, definitely not. I think, but I think on that note, I think working with Sameer has always been a very pleasant experience. I can surely say that he's been a thorough gentleman. But more than that, I think one thing which came out very clearly in this conversation was that, it's if you're in a partnership and there's mutual trust and respect for each other, you'll always see. And I'm hoping there'll be more of these series. And if this can come out as a message to the entire fraternity, I think we'll have much more better campaigns which come to life. There'll be better working environment. There'll be more fun at work, which I think is great for the industry.
I completely agree. And it is very obvious to see your chemistry together. And I can say this not just on the record, but again, we've been chatting for quite a while.
But on a lighter note, I think we are members of Mutual Admiration Club as well.
Nah. Dikh raha hai. Dikh raha hai. Okay, last one for both of you. And again, fun one, easy one. What is the most creative excuse you have given for missing a deadline? पक्का होगा, हो ही नहीं सकता नहीं है.
Okay, so it's not a creative excuse, but this is the fax days wherein the client wanted the entire plan to be faxed across to them. So the plan wasn't ready. So it wasn't an excuse, but what we did was we started faxing blank papers on this side, and we kept on saying, "We are sending it from this side. I don't know why you are not able to get it."
I love it.
That was the, and obviously the faxes were going through, but they were blank. So I was like, you need to check the toner on your fax machine. You need to do all of other things. But it wasn't an excuse, but I think it got us more time to work on the.
I did not know this side of Atul. I absolutely love it.
This happens with the emails also.
The beans are coming out. The tea is coming out.
That was a juicy full toss, sorry.
No, we appreciate the brand contribution to making this spicier. What about
हमने तो
you?
मेल भेज दी, अटैचमेंट ज्यादा था, भारी थी, बाउंस हो गया.
Attach नहीं हो रहा.
अटैच नहीं हो रहा.
मैंने 2 दिन मिस कर दिया, आउटबॉक्स में पड़ा हुआ था.
Presentation बना हुआ था. We had 7 different people, review it, and we've had internal smaller, teams doing it too. But वो मेल नहीं गया.
Yeah, I think we're sharing a little too much.
No, this is what we need. This is attracting good talent. Atul, we're just getting to see all of that. Okay. One slightly serious one on this one. What do you think, or what's the tea on the one trend that you think will dominate in 2025? Like I said, we've discussed a lot of changes. 2024 has been also very exciting, but 2025, what do you think is the key trend that's going to be, essential to comms as a whole?
I think, see, if I look at, and I think there's a whole buzzword around generative AI. So I think for sure, I would say definitely that, because I feel that there are organizations which are moving away from pure experimentation and now are going into the business transformation stage. So even at Rudolphin, we're making some big strides in that space. And I definitely feel that 2025 is going to be a year wherein not only what we produce gets impacted by generative AI, but I think our cost structures, the way we are looking at talent, the way we are reskilling our people, the way we are probably looking what's possible, what's not possible from a creativity perspective. What is the grunge work that I can pass off, like you were asking?
Yeah.
I feel that 2025 is going to be that year wherein most of these changes will happen, which will end up impacting our industry in a very big way.
Nice. No, I agree with that. And I think we can see snippets of it already happening, how we're more productively using Gen AI. Sameer, do you agree, or anything else you'd like to add?
If I may just add to what he just said, I think hyper-localization, of messaging, of brand, and brands being a little more subtle than being in your face using hyper-localization. AI, I think, could play an important role. Recommendations, since I come from the content, side, recommendation, what to watch, how to watch, should be preemptive, looking at my habits. I mean, that's something that a lot of, streaming services do absolutely efficiently, right? I mean, they are more tech companies than they are content companies. As long as you solve that, you make my life easy. Give me what I need to watch. Help me make that decision in 5 seconds, and serve from a hyper local level.
Yeah.
Personalize it for me. I think that's what would be music to
next-
my
Yeah.
ears in 25.
Fingers crossed. So now we have the last section. Okay, then you guys are free, but you've been very good sports so far. So we're going to make it more exciting. It's called the rapid fire. And as expected, you know what every rapid fire is all about. So just few quick questions. We'll start with you, Sameer.
Okay.
Okay, and then
And
Atul
there's a
will come
hamper
to you.
after that.
Huh?
There's a hamper.
अब ये तो टीम से पूछना पड़ेगा मैं सिर्फ host हूँ
There's blue tea.
There's blue tea. You can take another blue tea break. So 1, 2, 3 and start. First word that comes to your mind when you hear branding.
Logo.
Expected. A campaign you'd redo if you could.
Many. I mean, there's always, a scope to do something better. You're always wiser in retrospect, right? So you want to do everything slightly better. I would say all of it.
One piece of advice you could tell yourself if you could go back in time 10 years.
Say no, say early.
What is the one thing you would want to tell a 20-year-old who wants to enter marketing?
Be a free bird. Just, it's very intuitive. Marketing is very intuitive. Just bring it out.
And what is the flip side of this career?
It's okay to fail. I mean, in whatever you do, there's no flip side. Right? It's fine. You fail, you fall, and you rise. I mean, if you do not fall, you don't realize, what you could do when you excel. So,
Got it. Thank you. And now, Atul, to you. And of course, Agency, so I'm expecting more masala out of this. Huh? So,
I'll try and live up to that reputation.
pitching or servicing? Which one do you prefer?
Pitching.
I knew the answer for this one though.
he meant successful pitching.
Meetings, virtual or in person?
In person.
Working under pressure, thrive or survive?
I would say thrive.
And one quote that you use when you're giving gyan to your teams or trying to motivate them?
I don't use, but I live my life with the philosophy, worry less, run more. Because I
Nice.
think that's the way. I think you stay in motion and you stay afloat and you thrive. You try and pause too much and you try and overthink things. I think it just slows you down. So I just keep on telling my teams, just be in the moment. And just things will happen, and they happen always.
But
I actually like that.
ये तो गीता का सार था. कर्म करो, फल ना
Yeah.
करो. वही, I mean, that's what it is.
It is. No, and it's nice. It's actually quite nice. I think I'm going to utilize that. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. You both. What a fun conversation. And I've had a great time having you here today. And I hope, again, we probably will do this again. But I hope you had a fun session
Yes.
too.
Absolutely, loved it. And I loved the tea as well.
Thank you. We tried to make you as comfortable as possible given some of the questions.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thanks so much. And that's a wrap on the rapid fire round and this episode. Short, sweet, and full of fun and surprises. Thank you to our guests for playing along and sharing all the fun moments. A big shout out to everyone for tuning in. This series is proudly brought to you by Newsreach, India's leading PR tech platform, in association with VC Circle and our production partner, HT Smartcast. A special thanks to our segment partner, Blue Tea, our gifting partner, Forbidden Journeys, and our styling partner, White Chaos. Until next time, stay tuned, keep crafting those stories, and we'll see you on the next episode.